Welcome to Rollin' Ratchet, where we cover all things culture. I'm your host, Nizzy Nice, and today we're talking about how Walt Disney sent Mickey to ESPN to air it out. If you haven't subscribed already, please consider hitting that subscribe button. Now let's get into this. So Disney sent Mickey to ESPN to spin the block, and he hit 17 people. Here are a list of the victims. Now, out of all of the names on this list, there's 4 names on here that should not be on here. And that's Jalen Rose, Keyshawn Johnson, Steve Young, and Max Kellerman. And we're going to talk later why I say that. But there's one name that wasn't on this list that people wanted to see go, and that was Malika Andrews. Now, I'm not advocating for anybody to be fired, but I am not a fan of Malika Andrews. She makes me think of that Drake and 21 song when Drake says she a dime, she sounds better on mute. That's how I look at Malika Andrews. She's a beautiful sister. I can look at her all day. But the more I listen to her talk, the less attractive she becomes. So let's talk about these 4 people that should not have been fired. First, let's talk about Jalen Rose. How you gonna fire the best hairline on Primetime TV? Now, I know a lot of y'all be in Jalen's comments, cooking them, talking about his hairline is painted on with black shoe polish, but the man is 50 years old, and he still looks young for his age, and his resume with the women ain't that bad. I mean, he was married to Molly, and now I'm hearing he's with one of my crushes, Angela Rye. Not sure if it's true, if it's just a rumor, but if it is true, Jalen, no disrespect, but Angela, if it don't work out, hit my line. And how you gonna fire ex-NBA athlete that used to roll with BMF? Mickey, when Meech come home, you gonna have some smoke. And how you gonna fire one of the original members of the Fab Five? Now, with all that being put aside, Jalen is actually a good analyst. I mean, the way he breaks down the game from a player perspective, I think he should have been kept on at ESPN, but they let him go. Now, let's talk about Keyshawn Johnson, my man Key, a former Super Bowl champion with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. In my opinion, Keyshawn Johnson was one of the most level-headed analysts that ESPN has ever had. Like, he never jumped out the window or got over emotional about his opinion and analysis of the game and players. Like, I feel like he moved off the eye test and what he's seen more than he talked off his emotions. He never talked crazy to nobody. Every time he's on camera, he was just smiling. Why would you want to fire Keyshawn Johnson? But they let him go. Now let's talk about Steve Young. Steve Young is a 3-time Super Bowl champion with the San Francisco 49ers. Now, I understand that every good athlete doesn't always make a good analyst, but Steve Young is actually a good analyst. And think about this. What football analyst right now that works for ESPN would have a better insight and perspective into the game than a 3-time Super Bowl champion? Like, what are we doing here? And on top of that, Steve Young threw 92 touchdowns to Jerry Rice. And you gonna fire that man? The disrespect. Now, out of all the people that was fired at ESPN, I feel the worst for Max Kellerman. I mean, he just got his own show after he got fired from First Take because of Stephen A. Smith. And no, that's not rumor or speculation, because Stephen A. Smith actually told us that he went to the bosses at ESPN and told them either he goes or Max goes. And you know they wasn't going to fire Stephen A. Smith because he has the biggest contract and he pulls in the most ratings at ESPN. So they let Max Kellerman go. Max just had his own show for what, less than a year? And now he gets fired again? And on top of that, out of all of the white people that work at ESPN, Max Kellerman is the most socially conscious. And he's a New York City native from the Bronx. And whenever it comes to black issues, you ever hear how much he was speaking up over like the other analysts on ESPN? I mean, it got so crazy that, matter of fact, I want to play this clip with Terrell Owens and Stephen A. Smith where he said that Max acts like he's blacker than him.
What's really going on, you are leaving others to surmise what the hell happened.
Can I answer
I don't
that
think
real
that's
quick?
fair.
Tio, do you mind if I jump in, Tio?
Yes, before you do that, but
go ahead.
What I wanted is transparency, Stephen A. And that's like I've done it. I've had incidents throughout the course of my career, and then there have been times where I've gone into interviews where I've done an hour and a half, 2 hours of an interview, and then they break down and they edit, and then you guys get on the show, and there's a panel of people, and then they break down whatever clips that they show. They're not showing the entire hour and a half or 2 hours of that interview that I've done. So what he wanted was transparency for people to see the full workout, to see the full Colin Kaepernick. Again, you mentioned obviously Max is going to get in here, and like I said, I'm in the streets. Max almost seems blacker than you, Stephen A. with what he's coming, with his commentary.
With all due respect, my brother.
I'm just saying, dog.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
I'm just saying.
I'm gonna check you right now. You don't cross the line.
I'm just saying.
Tell me. Wait a minute. You don't cross the line. First of all, like I said, you, Colin Kaepernick, Eric Reed, any of y'all that want to debate me in front of black people and talk about what's best for black people, name the time and place, I'll show up. I don't want to hear, what's the definition of blackness? Is there a definitive definition of blackness? Why are you giving the impression that because I don't march lockstep with every single thing that Colin Kaepernick wants? Okay, excuse me. Hold on,
I'm not agreeing.
I'm not agreeing
with everything that Colin Kaepernick has done.
I'm not saying that, but you just sat up there and used an expression, more blacker. Excuse me, I'm from Hollis, Queens, New York City. You ain't the only brother out there that's in the streets. I'm in the streets every day. So let's be very clear, and you damn well know that's the truth. And so my point to you is this. Again, I'm not going to disrespect you. I'm not going to go that route.
Man, you could tell Stephen A. Smith was tight when T.O. said that about him. And I kind of understand where T.O. was coming from, because sometimes Stephen A. be hard on the brothers, man. But I'm not going to go as far as some of y'all who call him a coon or a sellout, because I don't believe that's the case. And every time I've ever met Stephen A. in public, he's always stopped and showed me love. So I don't got nothing bad to say about the dude. And the man has encouraged me to expand my vocabulary, because whenever Stephen A. Smith is on air, he going to say one or two words that you're going to have to look up. Now, he was on, Stephen A. Smith I'm talking about, he was on a podcast with Draymond Green. And Draymond Green asked him, has there ever been a time where he almost lost it on air? And Stephen A. Smith said this.
I remember the one time where things almost this is the one time I almost lost it. When T.O. came on the air and said that Max seemed blacker than me. Now, I addressed it on the air, but where it almost got dicey, there's a lot of stuff that hasn't been involved with T.O. over the years. And it took everything in me not to go all in, not to really because let's be very, very clear. I'm sorry if it offends anybody or anything like that. When it comes to what I do for a living, which is television and debate and stuff like that, Dre, I ain't gonna lie, I think I'm the best on the planet. I just do.
Now, with that situation with Stephen A. and T.O., I'm glad Stephen A. took the high road, because that would not have been a good look for the culture to have two black men on national TV tearing each other down. So I'm happy it ended the way that it did. Now, when I was reading the comments, a lot of people was like, so what? These ex-pro athletes got fired. They're millionaires. And sometimes it's not about the money. Sometimes it's having something to do with your time, something to do with your life, and not being in the house. Let me share a dark statistic with y'all. They say more than 50% of ex-pro athletes get a divorce within 5 years of their retirement. And you know what that is? Because a lot of women who marry these athletes, they don't marry them for love. They marry them for the money. So it's all good as long as the man is not home. He's on the road with the team. These wives can live the lives they want, spend as much money as they want, and just do whatever they want. But once that man retires and he's home full time every day, a lot of women look at that situation like, I ain't gonna be able to do this. So they file for divorce and walk away with half. Now, I bring that up because I'm from New York, right? And one time I was in LA and we went to some club in Hollywood. And after the club, we went to this pizza spot on Hollywood Boulevard, right? And I see this baddie. Now, in New York, if you see a baddie and we try to holler, she gonna give you a little attitude. But for whatever reason, when you holler at a baddie in LA, I don't know, they seem more friendly. I don't know if it's the weather or whatever it is, but they're more prone to talk to you. So I shoot my shot, and me and Shorty, we chopping it up. And she like, take my Instagram. I'm like, all right, cool. So I take her IG, and then she jumps in a Wraith and slides off. I'm like, damn. I'm intrigued. I'm like, what Shorty do that she driving a Wraith? So I'm scrolling through her Instagram, and I see Antonio Gates on her Instagram. Now, Antonio Gates is a Hall of Famer who played tight end for the San Diego Chargers. So I'm like, I'm looking at a dude on Instagram, so I Google it, and I find out they married. Now, the reason I bring that up is Antonio Gates retired from the NFL in 2020. Do you know Shorty filed for a divorce in 2022? 2 years after he retired. Now, the funny part is they was married for 11 years. But I don't know if she just couldn't take those 2 years of him being home full time. And she's like, I ain't gonna be able to do this. But a lot of times that happens. So a lot of times it's not about the money. A lot of these athletes, they just want to get out the house. But hey, I want to thank y'all for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment, and share. I'm your host, Nizzy Nice, and we rolling Ratchet.